Welcome back to Beyond the Wrench. My name is Jay Goninen, and I am your host. Today, we're joined by Gerrot Jacobson, an automotive technology instructor at Hawkeye Community College, who's focused on preparing the next generation of technicians for successful careers in our industry. In this episode, we'll talk about Gerrot's journey into automotive education, what he's seeing from students entering the industry today, and how educators and shop leaders can work together to build a stronger technician pipeline. Gerrot, how are you?
Not too bad yourself.
I am doing good. So I had the pleasure of meeting you as we record this just about a week ago. You and I were on a roundtable at the Vision High Tech Conference in Kansas City. And I have to start by saying your energy just captured me, right? You brought this different level of energy. I think the room really took note of that, and you just have a presence about you that was just amazing. So I've been looking forward to this. I think this is really, really cool that we were able to get you to come on the show.
I appreciate it. I'm glad that it's noted as a good thing. Sometimes I get to hear that I have too much energy or I'm too loud. So, matter of fact, I think I was actually told that I was too loud at Vision at one point too. So, you'll have that.
I so I was on the other side of the too loud conversation, right? And it was, I believe, you were going through and doing some software training. You were doing what were you teaching on in the other room?
Yeah, on HP tuners related stuff. How to use what is commonly thought of as a tuning software and like breaking the law. How to actually use it for good for students. Because it is engaging and it's really cool to them. So to be able to use that software in your classroom and also to really understand like what a mass airflow table really is. Like they can see a picture of it instead of seeing the sensor and the operation. So like us as instructors, how to use that for good, essentially.
I will admit I was in the other session, but because you were talking about HP tuner stuff and that seemed maybe a little bit more intriguing than the conversation I was a part of, my ears were definitely drifting that way, and I was wishing that I was in that class because it sounded really, really cool. And what an awesome tool to be able to appeal to the younger generation, to the car community in general. HP Tuner is a
Yep.
fantastic company. Just really cool class.
It's always, I mean, here at the college, it was a weird thing for some people to go, oh, wow, you're using HP tuners with your students. That doesn't seem right. Like, oh, you must be deleting emissions. And that is completely not even the narrative. It's a great scanner, like truly a great scanner. It's on the student's laptop. They download the software free. We have the hardware. So what better thing to use than that? The logging of it is phenomenal. They think it's cool just because it's like fancy and like feels tuning. Even we're not even using the editor. On my side of it for like my computerized controls classes and stuff like that, I'll use it as far as like I'll read a module and I'll show them, hey, this is what a speed density table looks like. Like this is what's in the module, guys. This is what a multiplier table looks like. So when the vehicle's cold, it looks at this and it says, yeah, add this much timing, or if it's got flex fuel, it does this. So they can see those things, but being able to for us as instructors to throw it out to those students, they love that stuff, and it's cheap too. It's $400 for some sort of scanning diagnostic tablet device. You can't beat the cost of something like that. So that's why we have a bunch of them here in our shop. I mean, the students love it; they grab it. Yeah, we got the top downs and Zeus's and Autels and all the OEM stuff, but it is a commonly sought out one. They go grab it immediately.
How did you get into that part of the world, right? Because I think it's so cool. I do think, as cars continue to get more complex, I think that's a really cool way to teach different things that you're trying to land home when it's one of those cool things that maybe would appeal to a student. But how did you get started in it and kind of tinkering around with, computers? Because that's some pretty advanced stuff.
When I was 16, I had my first set of keys, and of course, like every other young individual, we try to make our stuff go faster. And I like full disclosure, I was that Honda guy that everyone hated, like the loud Honda. Yes, that was me.
You had the coffee can.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And does my wife make fun of me for this? Yes, but remind her that she's been with me now. Like we've been together almost 20 years now, so she's stuck with that guy. But that was just my passion, was like trying to make cars fast, and it blended into what I ended up doing in the field. I went to school for this stuff and doing engine drivability diagnostics, advanced electrical stuff, but I had a Honda, and it's like I had to figure out how to make this thing faster. And back then we were taking the EEPROM and making an electronically erasable EEPROM and soldering into the board on a P28 module on those, and it kind of grew from there. And the reason I did it, just like every other 16-year-old, I didn't have a lot of money, but I did have the internet, and I could read things and I could figure things out. So it's like, while I did mess some things up on my own, I figured things out in cheap ways to make stuff work, and it grew from there. Eventually, then it was like, okay, I had a lot of people that like General Motors products, so it was like, okay, I can figure out what the tuning software is for that. And then that's where HP Tuners came in, and it was like, okay, I can make some money doing this on the side. So it was like, okay, I'll start tuning some vehicles here and there, and then it kind of exploded from there in a good way. But I will honestly say that tuning made me a better diagnostic technician, because even today, like, I still have a chassis dyno at my own shop. That it's just like my hobby shop, just to be clear. It's not like it's a full-on thing or anything, but I would say 80+% of the vehicles that come to me have a problem. So I have to electronically or drivability diagnose whatever the issue is just to tune it. And that's where it makes great case studies for students, because it's like cool. It's like a cool car. It's a Mustang, or it's a Challenger, or a Camaro, or a G8, something, right? But I was too cheap of a kid to pay somebody else to do it. And I had the resource that everyone has, the internet. And it's even more powerful now than it was then. Oh. So we can get these things. And I guess I had the drive to figure it out. And it worked out. And it's been fun. It's just a different part of the world that I've been able to dabble in. And some of my students, a lot of students come, and they don't come just because they're like, yeah, I want to do work. As an automotive instructor, they don't always like, yeah, I want to go work in an independent or a dealership. They came because they thought cars were cool. And I was that person. And I can see that. And some of them do work. We've had students leave here, Iowa, go work down in Florida or in Atlanta at different performance shops. It's not uncommon. Fortunately, we got some of those connections now to be able to do that stuff. But there's different avenues in the automotive world. It's not just one avenue. There's a lot of other things. And being able to myself go that direction with it was fun. And then be able to see students go that direction was enticing, fun to see everything kind of happen with it too.
Did you freak out at all when you were 16 years old? You're screwing with the computer in your car, that maybe that would hamper your ability to have transportation if you screw up?
Oh yeah. Okay. Just like a lot of every other, what you're thinking in your head, everyone's thinking this now. Okay, 16-year-old Honda kid. I had a skateboard in the back too, so I knew I was getting to school. Like it was happening. And just to be clear, my dad was not giving me a ride. Like, if you did that, you're on your own, buddy. It is what it is. But there was a lot of that. But that helps me figure out. I won't ever forget the first time I was 16, and they're like, oh yeah, you got to put a bigger ignition coil in this distributor in this Honda. This will help out. And I'm like, okay. So I go ripping the igniter out and ripping the coil out, and I put it all back together, and it doesn't run. I'm like, oh, like, this is bad. Like, you asked me the scenario. This is what happened. Well, it's just that I didn't put the spark plug wires back on in the correct orientation. Like, how simple of a fix was that? But like, as a 16-year-old, you didn't know all those things. So, oh yeah, I lived those scenarios. So
when you get forced to figure it out, it's amazing how resourceful you can be.
Yes, absolutely. So it worked out. There was times that, I blew stuff up in my own cars. I became, the reason that I own a chassis dyno now is because I bought it from the people at the machine shop that I worked with for the last 15 years. And you can imagine why I became best friends with these people at the machine shop. Well, because I broke a lot of stuff. So
I think that's an underrated way of learning. And it's talked, we talk about it a lot, about having to screw something up in order to kind of learn. And I love people that have the same mentality that you do, which is really that learned lesson from a failure and how important that is, because that's what sticks. I feel like that sticks better than anything else.
I made a post on my Facebook page about it with one of my students yesterday. Like, honestly, one of my best students too. He's phenomenal. Not just as like a technician, but as a person. And he goes over to do the most simple thing. He wanted to do a transmission service on his car. Pull the pan down. And this is the kid that wore 5 quarts of fluid. And it's all over the floor. Like, it just doesn't happen to him. But it happens. He learned from it. The biggest thing is like getting anyone, just reset. Whatever happened, who cares? Move on. And he did. I got a picture of it. It's just, he's just soaked. And I got a picture. It's like it's all over the floor. It's just gross. But move on. It's fine. And he knows now that that bin, we got to have that up at the top of it when we're draining it in. It's got to have that foam stuff on it so it doesn't go splattering and flying everywhere anymore. He knows. He won't forget it now. I guarantee it.
As somebody that's done that before, that's a different level of smell, right? It just feels like it seeps into your skin, and that's it takes a couple days to really feel like you're clean again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't go smell him already today, but I guarantee he smells that same way that he did yesterday.
All right, so you start by tinkering at 16. What path led you to where you're at today then? How did you get truly into automotive?
So I was very fortunate with our local high school that they did what was called as a tech prep program. And then what that meant was as a junior in my high school, I could go take the gen eds that were required for the automotive courses. So I did that. And then as a senior, I could be integrated in 100% with the core automotive students at this college that I was going to go to. So even though I was a senior in high school, I didn't go to high school. I went straight to the college. And you wouldn't have known, besides I was the small kid in the class, you wouldn't have known that I was anyone else besides a traditional college student. So I had a leg up. That way, I didn't pay for that first year schooling. It was free to me. And I'm fortunate that one of those instructors, I ended up being able to work with him then afterwards as an instructor. But he was one of my instructors. Great. I went there for a year as a high school student. And then the second year of the program, I had to, actually, I got scholarships because I was a high school student. It's the weirdest thing. So I didn't ever have to take any loans or anything out to go to school. And in the meantime, I bribed because I wouldn't stop knocking on the doors of Charlie's Auto Repair. I was like, hey, you got to give me a job. You got to give me a job. And poor Charlie and Mike Brass gave me a job. And I stuck out with them for quite some time through school and even after school, working in an independent repair facility, And even on like this tuning stuff, it's really fun. I was that guy in the classroom that my instructor, Rob, we were over in the corner. He said, what are you guys doing? Well, that was my first time I ever chipped a P28 in a Honda module, like 100% two through without an issue. Was that in that classroom? Because they had like the nice soldering guns and stuff. It's like, I got this. And you should awesome. Looking at his face. We're in steering suspension class, and I'm over in the corner soldering a board. He still make fun of me to this day about it, but hey, it is what it is. But no, I did that for a while, and then I think it was like 19-ish, and I went to work for another local repair facility. Just better pay. I mean, as a technician or a nomad, I was looking out for that. And it was great owner, great shop, still one of the like better growing shops in the area. And I worked on more European stuff even at that shop. More, I want to say luxury. It was in Clear Lake, so there's a little bit higher of a clientele than I was used to. In a good way, that was totally fine. And it was awesome. This girl walked in the shop one day, and I was like, I like her. I wasn't going to say it because it was the guy that owned it. He was young. It was his sister.
Oh.
2 years later, I left that shop and I moved in with his sister down in Iowa City, and now that's my wife. So you can imagine how like some Christmases went for a little bit. But hey, I got a really cool wife, and unfortunately, my brother-in-law now is the one that lost out a little bit there. So sorry, Adam, but it worked out. But no, I got to follow her around for a while after that. We went to Iowa City so she could finish her schooling, and then to St. Louis so she could finish more schooling. And then that's where I actually started to instruct. And I came back to Iowa here and worked at a college, North Iowa Area Community College. And that's where I went to school. So it was like full circle here. Like I went out and worked in the field for a while, and I came back, and now I'm an educator. They hired me, and I was like, I don't know how this happened. This is awesome. And it was fun. It was great. We did that for 5 years, and we decided, my wife and I, we weren't able to have kids. So we're like, you know what? Let's move around the world. I got an offer with the tuning school to go teach tuning. And that's always been like my background passion, to teach tuning and to be in that field. And so I did. So we moved to Florida. We're like, screw it. Iowa, you're home to us. This is awesome. But I don't think too many people could turn down that offer to go live in nice warm weather. So we did, and it was good for a while. And not that it was ever bad, but it is different lifestyle, and that's totally fine. But we were blessed by the grace of God to be able to figure out that we were able to have a kid. So I don't know how it happened, but it happened. We tried for 5 years and it's not gonna, and then we get to this and we're in Florida water now. I don't get it. But so we moved back to Iowa and that's where I landed with Hawkeye Community College. And now I've been here for 7 years now and it's been a whirlwind. We've had a great program and it was good. And we just keep building on the successes that we had. And we're an ASE certified program now. We weren't when we started, and a lot of things are changing. We're actually getting a whole brand new building now too. So we're going from 14 hoists and like 26 bay shop to now 18 and 32. So like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's been a fun journey this whole way. Must admit, nothing to complain.
Well, we're gonna talk a lot about your enthusiasm because I think that's a big part of why that program's growing. But I do have a couple of questions. One first general comment. Your wife must be a saint for she never escaped the automotive world. She just kind of kept getting herself further into it. But then the other part that I want to ask about, as it related to you going into a shop, you had this interest with tuning, and I think where we face a big disconnect with a lot of young people coming into a shop is, we love tuning, love the performance side, or love different parts of the industry, but then having to work through kind of you've got to get through your bumps once you get into a shop. And how did you manage that part of like, I really love this part, but am I going to have to go start doing some maintenance to start off with? Or how did that transition work for you?
I mean, like any other person, no one took me seriously as a 16-year-old, 120-pound wimpy kid walking into a shop. That's not what happens. So you have to start by doing this, the grunt work, for lack of better. And that set me, I do not like doing, where I live in Iowa, brake lines are the worst thing because they're rusty.
Yeah.
You get it. You're right there with me. It's terrible work. But I'm fortunate that I found that out. And I don't like alignments really either, because it's not that they're hard. It's just I don't like rusty drippiness on top of me. And I did do these things. And that set me up to go this direction with drivability and diagnostics. And pretty much my last 5 years in the field, that's all that I did was electronic drivability, diagnostic stuff. That's it. Because I found out really fast that I do not like doing brake lines. It's not enjoyable. So if that's the truth, but I want to be in this field, I need to figure out what to do to get to that point. And I'm very fortunate that I had Mike Brass. I owe this guy millions of dollars and multiple lives, because without him, he pushed, and I'd watch him. He was like a wizard when it came to any vehicle. He'd come in with a no start and he'd be, doing this and then this. And I'm over here in the corner doing an oil change, just watching like, what's going on? How is this happening? And fortunately, and I work with him to this day. We do all kinds of stuff of work together, and we're always networking on all kinds of things. And it's amazing. And now I actually got him on the HP tuner side of stuff now too, like pretty deep. But it was a passion, but it's not realistic in a lot of cases to believe that you're only going to do performance work. I still need to make money to pay for the things that I enjoy. The other thing is, I don't know, if you enjoy something so much, do you want to do it every single day and then get burnt out on it? And that's kind of how I felt about some of the performance stuff. Like, I enjoy that, but do I want to do that every single day? And I'm not going to lie, I did find that in working with the tuning school, that teaching that, my passion, I am blessed to be able to teach students that are at the community college. That is, I love it.
Wheelhouse.
No replacement for it. I go out and I do seminars and I teach for Snap-on and the tuning school stuff and any of this other stuff. And I'm fortunate to do those things and I enjoy that. But the day-to-day camaraderie in the people that I deal with here today, that's what it's about for me. Like, it hits, I feel like I can just kill it with those guys. Not that I can't with any other group, but like the pride and the passion falls out on that. But, I would go in these shops and I would work, and I would recognize at night I wanted to go do these different things. And I never ever pushed for any of my employers to go, hey, let's do some of these tuning things. Let's do some of these tuning things. Because quite honestly, there's not a whole, if you're doing so small of it, there's not a lot of money to be made in it. I can make so much more money doing a brake job or struts or an alignment or an engine or a head gasket or misfire or whatever it is. So it wasn't anything to ever push. It was a passion versus a job in most cases. And being an instructor, full disclosure, we got summers off, we do have some free time. So I did create a tuning business, and I got rid of the tuning business actually, because it grew, and we got rid of it. And now it's a full running thing. One of my old students actually was one of the people that ran it for quite some time. So it's really cool to be able to see that kind of stuff. But it's never been a passion of mine to just sit on that side. My passion's always been just teaching, to getting people to just that light bulb moment and enjoy what, for that first 6-7 years of my life, that I loved this stuff. I loved drivability. I mean, there was some, it's hard today. It's a lot harder than it used to be. I'd have a Vortec vehicle come in and it's got a misfire. Well, it's a poppet nozzle fuel injector. It's this. It's a Ford with the. It was easy stuff, and now, not that it's not easy anymore, but it's definitely become difficult. So, which is fun. That's the challenge of all this.
Well, in using that HP Tuners example of what you do and how appealing that is to a young person, I do feel like there's so much to be learned, and it's a different style of teaching it, because in a lot of ways you're still teaching the fundamentals of engine performance, how an engine runs.
Yep.
And I think nothing drives me crazier than if I go to a school and you'll hear the students talk about boost. Yeah, boost, bro, boost. And I'm like, you don't even know what that means. Like, you're talking about it, but you don't know what it means. Whereas if you're dialing a car in and you are actually playing with figures and you're trying to truly tune a car, it's you can't help but learn it, right? You're going to learn how those what it actually does, which does help you diagnostically regardless of what direction you go, and it just piques attention to where you're going to pay a little bit more attention to it because it's fun.
100%. And that's where if you know why it's doing it, like the module, if I'm tuning it and I know why it's doing it, now on the outside, I get to the next car, I know why something happened. I can understand the process a lot better. Like, my brain goes a different direction than a lot of other people because I understand what's happening inside the module. It's really funny when people, like, they're talking about a Dodge and they're like, oh yeah, that's a speed density vehicle. And I'm like, no, it's not. Everyone thinks it's speed density because it's got a map sensor, not a mass airflow sensor, but it's actually an artificial neural network. It's a completely, it's a speed density base, but it's an artificial neural network. And people just, what's that? It doesn't matter. I'll just fix the map sensor. Like, but it's just a different process of thinking when you get to some of that stuff. And, you with the students on this, you mentioned something with boost. And, one of the things that I do I just left fuel systems with my students, and getting them to understand what open loop is versus closed loop. That's fine, but getting them to see the difference between open loop and closed loop. And on a scan tool, seeing it switch from open to closed loop, or why when it goes wide open throttle, when the car goes wide open throttle, it goes back into open loop instead of closed loop. I put the car on the dyno, and they beat the tarnation out of this poor Cavalier. We have it's old, and I should probably get rid of it. It's like a 2005 Cavalier, but it won't die. It genuinely will not die. So I will use it to this day for this. And they go, oh, okay. So it spikes rich. They can see that it spikes rich when it goes wide open throttle. They can see that it goes into open loop and and then closed loop comes back in when it's cruising. And they see these things. And then we put a Pontiac Solstice on that it's a turbocharged vehicle, wideband equipped, and it never goes into open loop. Why when it goes wide open throttle gear? It's because it's a wideband air fuel sensor. Like the silliest things using HP tuners and looking at these pieces, it clicks for these guys, and they had fun doing it. That's like the biggest thing. Because I remember learning some drivability stuff, and I'm like, it's honestly kind of painful sometimes. Like because it's not all hands-on work. It's a lot of really understanding difficult things. So we got to figure out a way to make it fun, these difficult things, and that's one of them. Even E85 in a vehicle. This poor Cavalier, it's not a flex fuel based vehicle, and as it's running, we're looking at the fuel trims in the graph, and it's running, and it's got gas in it. And it's sitting on the dyno, just idling, and they see the fuel trims 0 to 1, 2, 3. I just straight dump some E85 in it while it's running. And they watch the fuel trims change. They're like, okay, now go to a full throttle pull. They're like, hold on, you just told us that it's going to go super lean, like 30% lean. I'm like, yeah, it's not going to die. Eventually it's going to. I'm going to get in trouble. But that's okay. That's for another time. My dean might be mad at me when we blow up a car or two, but it's okay. But I'll make them do a full throttle pull with straight E85 in this. And you guys are probably thinking, this guy's crazy. And that's the truth. I am crazy. But they see that oxygen sensor start to like sneak up and then just go pegs lean. It's like 100 millivolts. They're like, whoa. And it starts backfiring and popping and stuff. I'm like, but it ran good for a second, Gerrot. Yeah, because remember those fuel trims in closed loop were fixing it. They weren't fixing it. They were adjusting to understand that there was a problem and try to fix what it can within the problem. But remember, open loop, it can't do that anymore. And they get it now. And then they can, and in Iowa, that's not in your land. It's not uncommon for somebody to accidentally put the cheapest fuel in their vehicle. It happens all the time. Well,
For sure.
they see this, they do a quick diag. I'm not saying they're going to go beat the car down the road, but they go driving like, whoa, these things, this isn't, and then they pull fuel sample and diag done. But they had fun doing it the entire time.
Well, in doing it in a situation to where it's not working on a customer's car for like, if you're, I remember growing up in the industry, and whether it was, maybe I was taking it wrong from teachers or even from my dad growing up in a shop, right? Just always like, if you fry that computer, you know how much that computer costs? That's not cheap. And if you fry that, we're going to shove that thing where the sun doesn't shine. And it was like, okay, you get to the point to where you're like, I don't want to screw this up, because if I fry this controller, I'm dead meat. And so what you're doing there, I think, is also making a student comfortable with trying some things and even getting it to run rough on purpose, like, and seeing that real time, how that impacts the car. I love that.
It's, we'll have people tell us all the time. I think about the power probe, push power, push ground. We have people that'll tell us you cannot train your students how to use that. They're going to let the smoke out of a module. And while I don't disagree with them, I have 40 of my own fleet vehicles here. I would rather train them how to use that tool properly versus never have seen it and get in the field and go, hey, that looks cool. Then they do buy it. And then they do cause an issue. Myself and Shane at Western Iowa Tech, we were joking a couple of years back. We're like, everyone's telling us this because they're going to accidentally put voltage into a can line. So me and Shane, we heard this at Vision a couple of years ago. Me and Shane come back to school and we're like, we took 12 volts and shoved it into can high and 12 into can low, and nothing happens. Then, by the way, like, car might shut off, nothing. But like, okay, we need to make sure our students, I'm not telling them to go do these things, just to be clear.
Right.
But we need to train them how to use the things that are scary too, because I would hate for somebody to go in the field and not know that power probe can damage something. It can. So this is why you don't do certain things. And in the case of the fuel, I mean, this is the time that if they're going to make a mistake, I'd rather them make a mistake with me where it costs no one nothing. It does.
Yes.
It's an educational power at this point. I'm fortunate that if we do break something, I got a budget. I'm not saying I'm going to go try, but it might happen once in a while.
Well, and I look at it from the standpoint of just getting them opportunities to play with their hands a little bit and use their minds. And I think when a lot of, whether it was our parents or our generation were growing up, you might get that lawnmower that you could tear into and try to figure some things out. I feel like there are less opportunities for that just because everything's so expensive now, so that if you tear into something and it doesn't go well, you're again going to be in trouble. But whether it's this or looking at just different opportunities for young people to get their hands on something and do some of that kind of, if they're curious, you want to stoke that curiosity, and how do you get them interested? I just had a conversation with somebody last night with the power of RC cars, and we were talking through, like, actually it was one of my coworkers here at WrenchWay that he has RC cars at home, and he's like, I got the electric ones now, but he said, I miss the nostalgia of trying to get the old engine to start and having it not start and having to figure it out. And I just think there's so many ways where if you can get young people time to experiment and try things, and as it relates to like tuning, make some mistakes, make it run like crap, like do some things that are going to make that mind of yours stretch, because if you think about it and you do some critical thinking, you're going to be better off because of it.
100%. And that's the overall goal to this is, and some people don't like that I say this because I've had people complain about this, but I'm going to say it. If a student leaves today, this college, I had students here today, if they leave this college today and they had fun, that's it. I'm good. I am good for the day. I don't care. Well, then, they're supposed to learn. Okay, I get that. But I guarantee if they had fun, they learned something.
Yep.
But you can learn something and not have fun. So I want them to have fun at the end of the day. And they will learn, I promise. We turn out some great students here. Absolutely amazing. I have students that are not ASE student certified, ASE certified when they leave here.
Wow.
That's this. We do our best to prepare our students for amazing, amazing things. But they need to leave. I wouldn't want them to. If I have a student leave that learned something but didn't have fun, do you think they're going to enjoy going to work this afternoon in the field?
No.
I need people to enjoy what we do. I need people to enjoy our field, or our field could slowly die off and end, which is what we've seen in some scenarios. I mean, the poor machinists of the world, look what happens to that. I mean, there's very few of that, you know. So we gotta enjoy it.
Well, and that's a big reason why I wanted you to come on the podcast, was to talk about the enjoyment. You wear the passion on your sleeve just constantly, and you can tell. We were on that little stage setup with Liz and Keith Perkins, you and I, and just talking through a lot of industry and education type of things, and how we can make this a better industry for everybody, right? And that passion was so apparent that I can see why students want to follow you. Students want to come to class, and maybe rather than dreading when they wake up in the morning to say, "Oh, I have to go to class," like they're kind of pumped about it, right? Like they want to come in and have fun. I think that when you took that mindset going into this, was this something that you had thought out, or it's just your natural personality and this is how you approach students? I just interested to see where your comfort level was coming in with the personality that you have, and the ability to be yourself.
I didn't grow up in a household that had a whole lot of cheerleading. It just didn't happen. We had to figure stuff out, and it was a little tough. My dad was a person that went back to school when he was 30 years old. And this guy ended up being the city administrator of the town long term. I mean, I grew up watching hustle, not hearing it. He didn't sit here and tell us that we had to do something. We just knew it. We had to figure things out. And I carried that. I figured I caught on to something and I had a passion. And I watched him. He liked challenges, and that was the same with us. And it came from a racing background too. I have a really hard time going to a racetrack. If I go to win. If we get second and we come back, something's getting changed. Now I don't drive the cars. I just build them and own them. But I don't want to have to change the driver. But we got to do what we got to do. But going through and just the whole, from where I started to where I've always had a passion for a challenge. That's been my thing. And I've never had a whole lot of people push me besides my wife and now my mentor, Rob. And they push me to do these next things. And what is this next thing? And motivation, it's like a shower. You just need to do it every single day. You got to get up and try. And that is difficult. And a lot of students don't have that. They don't, I say this and I don't mean it jokingly. People don't, an attaboy goes a long way for everyone, but it's not the only thing. You got to be self-motivated. You have to try to get yourself going. I think about like this year, there's myself and 9 of my students that are here at school at 6 a.m. to work out every day. I don't like doing that. Do you think some of them were the scrawny little wimpy kids? It doesn't matter. And then we got Jeremy Weeks, who is a big, huge, burly dude over in the corner, just blasting. But you got to figure out how to get that passion and work together as a team and do this. Let's go. And it bleeds into what happens here in the shop. You got a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds and my 37-year-old out there on a bunch of pre-workout. You can just imagine what's going on in that shop. It's crazy. 7:30 comes around. You don't need no coffee in this place. We just got, it's rolling here. But when I was young, I figured that out, man. It was just, you gotta move forward. And we got struggles. Everyone's got struggles. Well, I'm not motivated today. Why aren't you motivated today? Because this happened. Oh, done. End it. We're done. You control your day. You control your destiny. Stop, end it, reset, let's go. Move on. You can't, bad stuff happens to everyone every day. It happens to me. It happens to you. Move forward. You got to shrug it off. If you're just going to hold on to it, you might as well just go sit down, be done, just call it quits. So
I think that paralyzes so many young technicians too, right? When they run into that situation where they're covered in transmission fluid, or if something breaks when they're working on a car, they beat themselves up so much that and I was that way as a young tech, right? Like something goes wrong, you kind of almost paralyze yourself with fear of telling somebody, or fear of like, how, oh my gosh, this car is supposed to be out in an hour. How am I supposed to get all this done? And I just broke a bolt and I got to get this all figured out. You have all of this kind of angst and anxiety, but your words couldn't be better stated for a young person right now, where it is, you know what, stuff is going to happen. I guarantee if you're moving stuff, like, you're going to have good and bad stuff happen, and you've got to be able to handle the bad stuff and come back from it, because it's not easy to do. And the more you can just kind of take it in stride and move on and get about your day, get it fixed, move on to the next thing, uh, the more successful you're going to be as
Oh
a
my
human
God.
being.
You're gonna fail. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Just get over it. And I tell all my people here, I lack the give a crap for any excuse. I don't care. I don't care what your excuse is, because I got one too. Everyone's got one. What I do care is that let's wash it away and let's move on. If that means 5 minutes and a monster in the hallway, have at it. If that means 10 minutes and run down to Chick-fil-A, be my guest. But we have to move forward. None of this 2 steps back stuff. It's just steps forward. That we can stop, but we got to go forward.
Man, I wish every young person would listen to that part right there, right? Where it's just cut the excuses, just keep your head down, keep working. And even if you screw up, especially for a young technician in a shop, I think a lot of experienced technicians look at how you respond to that kind of thing, and you can gain a lot of respect from a more experienced technician if you battle through things.
Yes.
And you don't just throw your hands up and give up, because that's when you start to lose respect from those experienced technicians. And believe me, you want that respect from those experienced technicians. They will help you out a lot if you show them a reason as to why they should help you out.
We find that, I teach all sophomores here, so all the second year people, and I fortunately do. I mean, they're motivated at this level. They've made it this far, right?
Yeah.
But they're self-motivating each other at this point. And I'm here to coach and throw that at them. Try to do that. But you got to figure it out, and you got to keep going on your own. Because when you get in the shop, and I don't want it to sound bad, because there's people like, well, it's tough in the shop. Every man for himself. That's not true. There is teams everywhere. People do help each other out. Good people help each other out, because good people can see that when me and you do something together, we were 2.5 times successful instead of 2 times successful. And I remind these guys that it's okay. Struggle, ask, but don't give up. Don't stop. And I say this to these students, and I told you about working out. I struggled just last week when it was my personal max bench press. And I'm struggling. And I got a 19-year-old behind me with his little fingers trying to move this bar up. And he's like, come on, you tell us all the time, Gerrot. Let's go. And I'm like, and I got it up, because it was either that or I was going to die, I think. But, I felt good in that moment, knowing that 2 reasons. 1, I pushed a personal best. 2, I got these guys to believe that if I make them push through it, they can make other people push through other things. They trusted in themselves to push me, Gerrot, further. That was a win. I mean, in my head, I'm like, there's weight above my head, I can die, but look at this moment, Gerrot. This is really cool. This is awesome.
If you're an automotive, diesel, or collision instructor, or an educator helping students explore these careers, this is for you. Building relationships with local shops takes time, and knowing who's willing to help isn't always clear. ASE Connects, in partnership with WrenchWay, brings schools and industry together on one easy online platform at no cost for schools. At the heart of ASE Connects is School Assist, the online resource that lets you post exactly what your program needs. From guest speakers, shop tours, tools, advisory committee members, career fair participants, and even student job opportunities, shops can see your requests and respond directly to you. You'll also get access to instructor-focused resources, webinars, and templates designed to save time and strengthen industry partnerships. Even if your school doesn't have a formal auto or diesel program, you can still participate to help connect interested students with real-world opportunities. ASE Connects is free for schools. Get started at wrenchway.com/solutions/schools or use the link in the show notes.
I want to talk about something you mentioned early in your story, and I think is very important for a technician coming in, a young person coming into our industry, which is that mentorship aspect of going into a shop, right? And as you're looking at this, we've been talking about the student side. I'd love to get your take on advice for shops out there and how they can better take care of that young person coming in their doors.
We have some, I'm very fortunate. I've dealt with bad and I've dealt with good and I've dealt with in between. And I'm telling you right now, I'm dealing with a lot of good. I
Good.
have some amazing, my advisory board is not a big advisory board like we even talked about before, but it is a good advisory board. And I deal with a lot of good service managers, service advisors, and owners in our area that believe in our process. They believe in what we're doing here at this college. And as an instructor, I have to get them to believe in me and what my mission here is. Because without that, I can't get these guys the jobs, these girls the jobs that matter in the field. But when my students do go out, I tell the owners that it's going to take a little bit. I started with somebody in a lot of cases that they didn't know what ratchets and wrenches and screwdrivers were. And I'm genuinely not kidding. I'm being 100% serious. It's crazy to thinking that we were just talking about, hey, I'm 16 and I'm soldering boards in the corner over here. But today, they don't know what a solder gun is when they're 18 and 19. But we got to see that there is a progression that can be made. And being able to work with that and find what niche or what they're good at. And we might find out that they might not be, they go through my program, they might not be the best with their hands, but they can think through them stuffs and they can talk to people and they're a phenomenal sales advisor. And then once they do that so good that they can be a shop manager. And I say that because that's dear to my heart, because one of our students that's 24 years old right now, he is the manager of a Dodge Jeep Chrysler dealership in our area at 24 because he showed that. And he was that student too, by the way. He didn't know what screwdrivers were. It was funny, poor guy. But he went that far. We work with our people to see what suits this student to where can we take them? They're going to take us places long term, but where can we help take them? One of our dealerships in the area, they're phenomenal. They'll start them on a lube rack. It's what happens. And within a couple of months, I got two of my students that are at a Toyota dealership, which is one of my best service managers. This guy, he just kills it. Flexibility with students, absolutely amazing. There's none of this. Oh, you didn't come in yesterday. Well, you didn't tell me to come in. Oh, the attitude stuff. None like, oh, you're 5 minutes late. Like, he's flexible with these guys. I'm not saying you can't stick to time. I'm not saying that. But like, you got to be flexible within reason, especially with schooling. And I got two individuals that they're not on the lube rack. They are on the main line, both of them sitting in between the master technician and the center, learning every single day. They're bleeding that knowledge to both sides of these boys. And it's crazy, and both of them ASE certified stuff, working their way up the Toyota ladder with stuff. These shop managers out there, you got to be flexible with some of these students. Students today aren't only motivated by money. I've come to figure that out. Me, if you put $1 in front of me, I'm going to figure out how to snatch it. You put $100 in front of me, I'm probably going to have to hit you, but I'm going to get it. That's not the same with students today. Some of them, they want vacation. They want time off. They want a new set of earbuds. I don't know. They want things that find the thing that motivates them and present that to them. And you'd be surprised what you can get out of these students. I mean, for me, for a while, it was, hey, I'm going to do Pizza Friday. Anymore, they don't care about Pizza Friday. What they want is they want to be done at 10 a.m. on Friday. That's what they want. All right, if you give me that hustle, I'll let you out at 10 a.m. on a Friday. We're still going to work out on Friday morning, just to be clear. But I'll let you out at 10 a.m. on Friday, right? So for these shop owners, find those incentives, find those flexibility units for them, find what works for them, because it's going to work for you as well. We all have to work together for this. The industry is changing. So if we're all going to sit here and think, well, this is how it was 50 years ago, cool. Go adjust your carburetor and your points, because that was 50 years ago. Tell me that happens today. It doesn't. So if you think that people are the same way today, you are dead wrong. Things change.
Amen. I think that part, we heard that in our Voice of Technician survey, the report that we put out just a couple of weeks ago, that work-life balance. And we talk about that a lot, but it's more like, hey, when I have a kid, are you going to give me a hard time if I need to go to that kid's soccer game like every week, and I need to leave early? Or, I joke about this a lot, but I remember growing up in a shop and you'd go for like a doctor's appointment or a haircut or something during the day and come back and they'd say, hey, welcome back, part-timer. And you're like, I was literally gone an hour. Like I was, so I think the culture is changing. I do think kind of the new age of technology and everything that is coming is really beneficial there, because it is making us cater to that a little bit. And if nothing else, just listen to your people, like have conversations with them, get to know them as people, get to know what's important to them. You might have a tech that just wants to keep working. They want to work all the time. Or you might have a tech that's like, hey, you know what? I definitely am not going to work Saturdays, and you have to be okay with that. And so I just, I probably preaching to the choir a little bit here, but one of my big things is that I feel like our industry has a tendency to put all technicians in the same bucket, that we all like the same things, that we all are this, have the same backgrounds. And you're like, that's naive of us to talk about them that way. Like they all have different backgrounds and they all have different interests, and each, like every other person in every other profession, not everybody's exactly the same. We should stop making assumptions that everybody in our industry is the same.
And that's work. I'm not telling anyone they have to work around somebody else's schedule. Just full disclosure on that. But what I'm telling you is, if you're willing to say, hey, you can come in from 9 to 6 instead of 8 to 5, that could change the entire projection of the whole day, the whole week, the whole month. You'd be blown away, because that student of mine wanted to play video games all night long. So it was easier for them to wake up at 8 and be to work at 9. But they have zero problem working till 6. Matter of fact, they'll even stay till 6:30 or 7. It does not affect them. They just want to be able to play video games from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. Like that is weird to me. I don't understand that. I'm up at 5. That's my body clock. But guess what? That's not everyone else's body clock. That's not. Flexibility goes a long ways, and you'd be surprised what you could get out of somebody if you are flexible. I mean, I'm fortunate in that here at school. So.
Yeah, and I think from a shop's perspective, that's a really easy way to stand out from other shops, right? Where if you do listen to your people, you do have flexibility, you do work with your team, and it's not holding a stick over their head all the time. You're actually talking to them and really trying to work around their personal lives as well. There's a lot of value in that. So I really appreciate that side. Now, the other side that I was going to mention was, if you're a shop that's out there listening, building that relationship with the school is so important. And one of the big reasons why, in my opinion, is you understand what the school is teaching better by being present and being a part of the school, caring about the program. You understand maybe where the school stops, right? Like you're teaching them up till graduation, what you're doing from then on, and how you onboard them, what your expectation is of what their capability is when they do come in the doors. And at some points you need to manage that expectation, because I think a lot of times in our industry, we expect too much too early, too fast, and really then both sides end up frustrated as a result. And somehow we've got to come to a better understanding there. And I think just being more involved will help you get a better understanding of that whole process.
If you were involved in any community, any community college, tech college, any college, I don't care, anything, you're that much further ahead. I mean, simple as that. For all of our people that come out here, we're a public institution. Anyone could walk in that door right now. They could walk in and they could look around. Well, they could stand on the safety line. We'll look around and they go, that student's working really hard. That student's working really hard. And those two students aren't doing anything. So when they come in to interview, that's in the head of the service manager. They already know that. What better thing for you to do as a service manager, shop owner, service advisor, hiring HR, whatever, than work with I tell all of my people, just come. If you want to text me and warn me, that's totally fine. But I work at a public institution. You can open the door and walk in. It's totally fine. And I warn my students that can happen. So if you're looking for a job and you're going to sit over there and do nothing, it's probably not going to work out in your favor. So this is all these things are good. But, in a shop owner, I come out here, you would think you'd be able to find and see pretty easily, pretty fast, who you want to hire. And you can find amazing people. It's crazy to think that some shop owners don't go that way with it. And the other thing is some shop, I see this more in the independent repair facilities, and that's where all of my background is from. That I think too many of the shop owners come in and they look for the student that can do everything instead of certain things very, very, very well. Maybe they're just a really good alignment technician. That's fine. You can transfer some of those skills. Or they're really good with electric and this. They just I need them to do everything. What you forget as a shop owner is You're the shop owner. You might do everything. They don't own the shop. Treat them like they don't own the shop. That's okay, because you're paying them like they don't own the shop. So give them that work until you're going to pay them like they own the shop. Don't expect, top tier every single thing out of these people. We got to keep that in mind here, because I guarantee you're making your money's worth, or you wouldn't keep. See, I have a lot of people. Well, you'll hear about it training this. Well, these students are terrible. So why do you still have them? Well, because there's no one else better to find. So if they're so bad that they're losing you money, why do you still have them? Yeah. That's not a possibility. So they're there and they're good.
It's interesting to me, Carm Capurato, who obviously a legend in our industry, has done so much for the industry, has really started to stress the need for specialization. Yep. And I've had several conversations with him. I've listened to a lot of his content that he's done around that. And I do think we're to the point to where we're going to have to start looking at that seriously. And if you're going down, I look at a school like yours and all of the things that you need to try and fit into 2 years, right? And say, now you're adding on ADAS, now you're adding on EV, now you're adding on all of this technology. And it feels like we're at that breaking point where we're going to have to split off and have ADAS specialists or EV specialists or hybrid specialists, diagnostic specialists as a whole, just different forms of specialties, because I think it's going to become more and more rare that there are people that can do everything. I think you're going to have to kind of break off.
I joke around in saying this, and I'm not knocking any other trade out there, but I am an AC and HVAC plumbing technician. Like, we deal with cooling and HVAC stuff. It happens. I am also a hydraulic technician. When we're doing any hydraulic related things, brakes. We just talked about that. I am also an electronic technician when I'm dealing with anything electronic. And then I'm a drivability technician. And then I'm a machinist over here when I'm putting different engines. I mean, there's so many. We don't wear one hat. No. And that's where, I'm very fortunate. Full disclosure, I've never taught a steering suspension class in my life. I don't enjoy it. I think I started by telling you I don't want to. Can I do it? Absolutely. I just helped out our shop manager with an alignment just a second ago. I will go over there and I will point and I'll say, this needs to be do this, because in my head I understand it because of my race car theory, but I don't want it. I just don't enjoy it. I teach drivability. I get to specialize and do this specifically. I teach A6 and ASE stuff. That is it. And A1. I should add A1 in as well. Yeah. And that's okay. And we should see that. There's a lot of great shops that do that. I think about one here in town that the shop owner, Steve, he is not your shop owner that sits at a desk or up front or any of that. He's in the back with all of his guys, and I love it. And it's a phenomenal shop. And he is the drivability guy. And then he's got another guy that does transmissions and engine related work, and that's it. He doesn't do anything more than that. He's got another person that does brake, steering, suspension stuff. And then he's got 2 more utility people, and that's totally fine. But they kind of specialize in their own thing, and then they can hit better bonuses too.
Oh yeah.
They figure out that they're really good with this. And Chad, one of the guys that works there, he's like, I don't want to touch electrical. It is not for me, and that's totally fine. And Steve says, yes, that's okay. I'll do that work. Put that on me. You're really good at doing that over there. Really talented, far better than anyone else. Go do that, and that's okay. And you can make a lot of money doing that, and that's okay, because we do live in a world where we work on a million different things when it comes to an automobile. It's kind of crazy what we all do when we look at about the other trades. When you're an electrician, you work with electric. Done. Right. You're a plumber, you do water, plumbing, but we do it all. We do everything. So it's okay so in Carm's words of this, it's okay to specialize and find that niche in that specific thing.
I love it. It is interesting to me, and maybe before I've got some fun questions for you here in just a second, but talk to me a little bit about how much pressure there is on you to fit so much curriculum into that short period of time, because it's a lot, and it feels like every advisory committee meeting I go to at a tech school, you're trying to prioritize what curriculum to keep, what to get rid of, and some of the stuff, it feels like we're getting more and more that is relevant that we have to fit. And we trim some of the easy stuff, like, we aren't working on carburetors anymore. Let's table that. But now you're getting so much relevant stuff in that 2 years. It's tough.
It is super tough. You know, you talk about a lot of the tech colleges, community colleges, stuff like that, where we have 4 or 5 semesters worth. You know, in our case, we do 4 16-week semesters. That's not a lot of time. I mean, we're here with our students 25-ish hours a week, which is good. That's how much we have them in our core class, but you'd be surprised how much stuff you can't get done, is what it really comes down to. You have to prioritize what matters and what it's going to do for the students ultimately when they leave. You know, do they need to learn? Do they need to use an on-car brake lathe? Yeah. Do they need to be the absolute most professional with it? Well, that's depending on your area too. Because if your dealers and your independents are saying we use this a ton, then sure. But if your dealers aren't, you need to show them and then prioritize to your region, because your region can be different than mine. I have to teach in depth how to fix fuel and brake lines. We can't skip that. It is a priority in our area. If I moved to Texas or Oklahoma or something, it'd probably be something that we would show them and they would understand, but they might honestly never do it again. They might not repair that line because it's a regional thing. Colleges do forget that it is we should always show students what to do. But putting a heavier emphasis on other things because of the time that's allowed is a priority as well. Because I need to show very specific things here. You know, we might not be able to do a ton of one thing because we don't have the time, but we have to do a ton of this other piece over here. We don't build a whole lot of engines in the field anymore. We're doing cylinder heads, obviously on-off, R&R stuff, oil pan, stuff like that. So am I going to prioritize how to machine a block? Absolutely not. No way. This is this. We build a quick engine, it goes back together. But I am going to prioritize how to mechanically and electronically check compression. I am going to prioritize how to check it, find a head gasket, or in the case of some Asian vehicles, adjust some valves and different things like that. And what is active fuel management and displacement on demand? You have to prioritize things because in the time that's allowed, we just simply don't have that. I could stretch my program out to be 3 or even 4 years long if we truly wanted the best technician, you know, a doctorate of a technician. Because when you think about this, we all are still training. A lot of us just got back from Vision or ASTA in the fall or whatever training event we're all going to. We're still training to this day. So I can still do that with my students. I could never stop. And, you know, they just keep paying money, poor guys. But we have to find a priority is what it ultimately comes down to. And with ASE Education Foundation, they do give us an amazing list. So we get A1 through 8, and these are the priorities of P1s, priority 1s, 2s, and 3s, and you should hit this amount, and this amount, and this amount, and we should. But once again, we have to take into effect where does it fit in and how relevant is it to our region. You know, I say that to a lot of, when I go out and I'm with other schools and helping them on any consultation, I always bring that up. What your region needs is not necessarily what my region needs. A lot of people in my area might not do this thing. We should still educate, but it does not mean we have to be a doctorate in that study. We just the students have to know and recognize. Because once again, just the analogy back on a Texas versus an Iowa or a Wisconsin car, we're doing brake lines. It's going to happen. Down there,
whether we want to or not.
Down there it might not. So there's some work behind that at every college. So and that's where you can't judge a college too by exactly what they're teaching because it is regional. We got to keep that in mind. And I had a hard time with that being younger and going around and looking at other colleges. I'm like, you guys don't teach brake lines? What's wrong with you? You're so silly. We do it all the time. And then step back and go, hey, you idiot, you lived in Florida. How many brake lines did you see rust out and down there? Oh yeah, none. Okay, I get it.
None.
Yeah. So you got to really think those things through.
Oh man, this has been such a fun conversation, and I knew this would go fast. This was one of the fastest hours I think we've ever had. But I do have some fun questions to wrap up with you here. So, just 3 kind of off the wall questions. First one is, what is your favorite food group?
Oh,
or
right.
type of food?
I'll eat rice all day long, straight. Nothing.
Rice.
Just rice.
All right.
It's odd enough. I'd show you. I got a thing that says all about my dad. My 3-year-old did it at the church daycare. What's your dad's favorite food? She even knows it. Rice. I don't know. Man, I just smoked some rice down. I'd be good. Wow.
What was your first car?
What do you think?
Honda.
There you go. Do I still have it to this day? Yeah. Other cool people are out there like, yeah, I got my first car. I got a Nova. I got a Malibu. I'm like, oh, you do? Yeah, I got a 96 Civic. What's up? You ain't got one of those. I do. Was it cut in half and buried and turned into a dirt bike jump at this point? Yes. Yes, definitely.
Also awesome. Also awesome. A great story. You kind of already answered this, but what time do you wake up?
5:01.
5
Not
o'clock.
5 a.m. on the dot, 5:01 on the dot. Why the 1? I don't know. It accidentally skipped in my phone one time, and it just sat there since.
So is it alarm clock wake up, or you wake up, you beat your alarm to it?
There's an alarm, but yeah, if you've hit the alarm enough, as in like I'm body clocked ahead of it,
Yeah.
which sucks because it's like Saturday morning. I'm like, all right, I am sleeping in because there is 0 student that's going to see me at the gym, so I can get there by like 8, and I'm good to go, right? No, 5, you're awake. Okay, this is great. No big deal. But hey, you get a lot of work done. My 0, 3, and 6-year-old are still sleeping, so I can hit the laptop and get work done at least.
Oh man, what an absolute pleasure to have you on. I consider myself very lucky for being placed as sitting next to you at that round table at Vision, because we had a blast up there. Love your energy. I love what you're bringing to the students there and to the industry as a whole. I hope we can have you back on here. I hope you get on a bunch of other podcasts as well. I just, or create your own podcast at some point. I think you'd be a phenomenal podcast host. Just so much good that you're doing, and so much positive enthusiasm for our young people to follow along. So I just thank you so much for all of that.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the kind words. And obviously, I was the lone wolf just hanging out, and the little guy over here, boots on the ground, compared to all of you guys. It was the real, actual stuff at Vision. So I'm just happy to be a part of it with you guys. So simple as that. If I can do it,
was cool.
It'd be good.
Yes. Well, thank you for everything. Hope to have you back on.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
That wraps up another episode of Beyond the Wrench. If you like this episode, please show your support by rating and following the podcast. You can also watch the video interviews on WrenchWay's YouTube channel. Speaking of WrenchWay, Beyond the Wrench is managed and produced by the WrenchWay team. WrenchWay is dedicated to promoting and improving careers in the automotive, diesel, and collision industries. In partnership with ASE, we run the ASE Connects community, which empowers shops and dealerships with reliable data, school connections, and industry insights while helping grow the future technician workforce. You can learn more by visiting wrenchway.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.